gentlemen, today's next discussion invites us into the visual revolution unfolding in cinema. The kind that makes audiences gasp during sun-drenched scenes and feel the depth of a nighttime landscape like never before. We're talking about the cutting-edge realms of high dynamic range, HDR, variable dynamic range, VDR, and direct view LED technology. Now, these are not just technical upgrades, they are cinematic game changers, delivering richer contrasts, brighter highlights, and visuals that transport audiences into the heart of the story. In India, we're already seeing this shift in real time. Barco and Prasad Film Labs have launched the world's largest HDR by Barco color grading facility in Chennai, setting new benchmarks in post-production quality and enabling incredibly lifelike visuals. On the exhibition front, Cube Cinema and Barco have partnered to deploy over 50 premium HDR-enabled auditoriums across India, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh by 2030, bringing immersive clarity to screens in every region. Well, we're going to have our speakers on stage tell us more about what lies ahead on this brilliant journey. The next session, curated by SMPTE India section, dives into this very frontier. It explores not only the potential of these technological, but also the practical considerations for exhibitors, from mastering workflows and projection standards to commercial viability. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have an expert panel of industry leaders to share their thoughts on this. Please join me in welcoming on stage C.V. Rao, Chief Technology Officer at Annapurna Studios, bringing deep technical expertise from one of India's most respected studios. Next, may I please welcome Ken Liu, Executive Director, Professional Services at Christie Digital Systems, offering insights into the global projection and display technology landscape. Next, we have Christophe Rene, Vice President, CEMEAI at Barco Cinema, a leader in cinematic display innovation. And today, may I please welcome Mr. Rajiv Menon, acclaimed film director and cinematographer, providing the creative and artistic perspective on how these technologies impact storytelling. Moderating this session today, we have with us Mr. Sendil Kumar, co-founder of Cube Cinema, a pioneer in India's digital cinema revolution. Before our panelists begin to share their thoughts with us, may I please invite on stage Mr. Ujwal Nirgudkar, Chairman of SMPTE India section and member of the Oscar Academy, to share his thoughts with us further on this brilliant topic. Let's give them all a huge round of applause, as today we're going to explore the next frontier of visual storytelling. Over to you, Mr. Nirgudkar.
Good evening, friends. It's my pleasure to be here. For the first time, we are participating with Big Cine Expo as SMPTE. So many of you may not know exactly what this organization does. So there is a very brief presentation to tell you what exactly we are doing. And SMPTE is the knowledge partner for this Big Cine Expo, and I'm going to talk to you about it. There are three pillars of SMPT. One is membership, second is standards, and third is education. This Society of Motion Pictures and Television Engineers was established in the year 1916, 109 years ago. When it was established, it was Society of Motion Picture Engineers, and the T was added in the year 1950 when television started in the US. Now, we have two different type of members. There are individual members and there are corporate members. Corporate members, like even the Oscar Academy, which is 98-year-old, is a member of SMPTE. Also, the big studios, Warner, Paramount, Sony Picture, they are the corporate members of SMPTE. The new age technologists like Apple, Google, Dolby, all these also are the corporate members. There are many individual members around the world who are technocrats, innovators, and contributors to this technology. We have developed about 800 standards so far, and the standards are still in the making. We also have quarterly standards meeting around the world. Every quarter, there is a standards meeting happening somewhere in the world. And we also had one of the first standards meeting in 2019 in Mumbai. And these standards meetings are conducted by the experts, the manufacturers, and the users to develop new standards in various new technologies in the entertainment and media sector. We also have education, like we have webinars, certification courses, student chapters, conferences, and local section events. So this event is part of the education event conducted by the local section, SMPT India section. Thank you very much for allowing us to be the knowledge partner for this event. I personally thank Mr. Raghav of Big Cinema Expo. We met in Mumbai about 3 months back, and this was discussed and it has come into practice. And we assure you that SMPT will continue to be a knowledge partner for Big Cinema Expo in the forthcoming conventions as well. Thank you.
So we're going to talk about the new developments in digital cinema. It's been 20 odd years since digital cinema started to roll out. It's done and dusted that the world is converted to digital. And now, of course, there's a more dramatic change coming, which is going to be visible to you. The change from film to digital was to some extent visible because there was no more wear and tear and the perceived sharpness was so much better. But this change from our standard dynamic range or SDR to high dynamic range is a creative change, it's a technical change, but it's a change that is also driven by multiple competing and very different technologies, each of which has its complications, its advantages, its disadvantages, and we'll try and make it a little more clear what the advantages and disadvantages are and help you navigate this if we can. So there is the standard dynamic range, which we have DCI projectors doing, such as what we are seeing here right now in the picture behind us. And then we have something that hit the world, I think about a decade ago, which was Dolby Vision, and started to move into theaters around 2017, I think. Dolby Vision has a brightness range which is much more than standard dynamic range. So where standard dynamic range is about 48 nits, Dolby Vision achieves 108 nits and a few other advantages as well in terms of achieving much deeper blacks. Then we have a high dynamic range with 300 nits achieved by Barco in projection with the HDR by Barco technology. And we have LED screens or direct view screens, which also achieve a similar standard. But each has its own advantages and disadvantages, which I hope we'll be able to discuss. But yesterday we did an experiment with showing director, cinematographer, and film enthusiast as well as teacher, Rajiv Menon. Standard dynamic range, Dolby Vision, and high dynamic range with Baco. And I wanted to get his creative impressions of this.
Thank you, Sendil. Yeah, it was a pleasure watching all of them back to back, and you can clearly see that, I mean, brightness is one aspect of it, but I think as a creative person, it was the sheer contrast ratio that we were seeing and the quality of colors, which were much better. And it was almost like a kind of a film had been lifted. It's like you had smoke and you managed to crush the blacks, and then you get a crisper, sharper picture. But what was surprising is the improvement in the skin tone as well as the blemishes in the skin, which were coming through, which making it a much more real image. The question for creative people like us when we are looking at something is technology keeps changing, but it's changing in relation to what? Now, when your cell phone is giving you HDR and you're watching it so close with the headphones, the theater going experience has to be more immersive and better, and not just a bigger screen, but also giving you greater fidelity. So as domestic televisions have improved their color rendition as well as thing, and your working monitors are becoming better, you expect the same kind of color quality and on the big screen. And I think that desire is now being triggered by what the consumer is experiencing, not in a professional format, but all around him, from phones to tablets to thing, driving that change, which is necessitating this change. So I do believe that in future, however expensive it is, and technology will make it accessible, it will be a reality, because just because somebody is accepting a certain visual quality does not necessarily mean the audience is not ready for it. It's just the same thing that for years we were accepting sound at with a roll-off at around 6,000 in the optical soundtrack, and now every theater is having hi-fi sound, and we are hearing much better sound. So I think the transition that we made in sound, we are yet to make in the visual, barring the fact that the noise and the shake and the scratches have disappeared. But I think the sheer aspect of the human eye being able to close your iris and open your iris to bright areas and smaller, darker areas, means that our eye is actually able to see a lot more, and HDR is somehow fulfilling that aspect. So to me, as a creative person, I welcome this change, and I think it is going to be a standard in the next 5 or 6 years, provided the engineers and the people who are supplying them, like Christie and Barco, are able to produce more cost-effective versions such that every theater owner puts it, and we as consumers and filmmakers are going to enjoy the benefits of HDR inside closed projection. Otherwise, we'll have to only watch it on Netflix.
Thank you, Rajiv, for a lot of creative insights. Ken, I wanted to ask, could you, in simple language, tell us about one, the Dolby Vision projector, because I understand that it's manufactured by Christie, and about the variable dynamic range projectors that Christie is making.
Let's start with the, sorry for my throat, I have a bit of a cough this morning. For VDR, basically is the Christie patented technology. It's designed to focus to optimize the projection for cinema. And it's designed to adjust the laser power frame by frame basis to match the brightest pixel of that particular frame. As a result of this dynamic adjustment, we discover that there is an enhancement in contrast, power efficiency, and also the laser lifespan. So, and the great things about this technology, there's no require to a special, mastering or DCP requirement. And if you already have a Christie real laser projector with the Cine Plus electronics, this will be a very easy software upgrade. And based on our studies, so the contrast ratio for the performance mode, it can go up to 60,000 to 1 if we are using the ultra high contrast lens with the HDR content. And for the energy size, we also discovered that it reduced the laser power consumption for over 30%. And as a result of it, it can extend the laser lifespan from 50,000 operating hours to 75,000 operating hours. As exhibitors, you're talking about 50,000 in a busy cinema, you're talking about maybe running for 10 years, but now it can extend to 75,000, which is another extra 5 years. So this is a very significant cost saving. And beside that, it's also improved the image quality as well. This is the VDR technology that coming out from Christie. Yeah.
And would you care to explain how the Dolby Vision projector works, or?
I think that one I leave it to the expert here, because they just install the Dolby Cinema. Yeah. So, yeah.
CV, would you tell us a little bit about Dolby Vision? And
yeah, thank you, Sendil. Good evening, everyone. So I just want to add a few points. As a post-production facility, we used to have a lot of struggles to reproduce the content for theaters. We used to fight with everyone. What we grade, what we see in theaters was not correct, and it was a big challenge. With the latest technologies, with HDR and Dolby Cinema, we are really happy with the results. It's like even clients are enjoying their content, what they see on a location while shooting on the location with the high-end cameras like Alexa and Red cameras. What they see on a big screen with the Dolby Cinema and HDR with Barco, it's like exactly the same. And sometimes they feel better because they're going to watch it on a big screen than a normal screen. So even for the audiences, because they come to the theaters when they feel, okay, this we have to go and watch in a theater. It's not like earlier days. Now, the exhibitors now, they are very competent to give the best quality in theaters. And this HDR technology is really helping to produce the quality for theaters. That's what we see. And Barco HDR with 300 nits and Dolby Cinema with 108 nits is a big game changer for the exhibitors.
I'm sure that it will be, or I hope very much that it will be. The other technology that is really changing things is HDR by Barco, because it puts 300 nits on your cinema screen. Can you tell us a little bit more about this technology?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon once again. I'm 26 years with Barco, and there are serious reasons behind it. And one of the latest one is HDR by Barco, because this is a very innovative product that we were working over last 7 years. We had different solutions, so something like VDR, we have it, call it Dyna Black. We use it in the home theater, but this is not exactly the same. I believe that the most important thing is to understand how the human eye works, so we see the contrast rather than the absolute brightness. That's why the peak whites and the deep blacks are very important to see a good quality of the image. So Barco is having the system, which is a very special solution. We call it light steering, because we can put the light on the certain elements of the image at the very same time to reach the higher higher white and lower blacks. So our system is compliant with the HDR DCI specs, which was recently announced last year. We can reach the black levels that are also described. And at the very same moment, at the very same frame, we can have this very high contrast of 60,000 to 1. I believe tomorrow, if everyone will have a time to go to the Prasad studio for the presentation, can have a look and see the difference between the SDR and the HDR, because this would be the best to see it, how it works. Probably there would be a question about the content distribution. So we are creating with a special tool we are providing to the post-production studios called Lightbox. We are making, together with colorists, with the producers, the digital cinema distribution master file, which then can be distributed like any other DCP with the SDR content. So we do not expect, and we already deploying more than 30 movies this year. It will be even more next year. This content flow via distribution is working very well. So there is any need to change anything with this regard. So I would like to really ask you to come tomorrow to have a look for this projector at Prasad Studio.
I'm sure every exhibitor in the room or every creative professional in the room would love to go and look at the HDR by Barco demo tomorrow evening, because seeing HDR is indeed eye-opening. One thing that Christoph touched upon was about the DCI standards. And fortunately, there is a DCI specification for HDR now. And so while HDR crept upon the cinema industry without specific standards, everything has been standardized by DCI just like SDR was. And the DCI standards calls for 5 millilits of light as the lowest level and 300 nits or 299.6 nits excuse me, as the highest level. This standard has tests for it, and there are already 2 LED manufacturers that have passed these tests, and I'm sure there will be many more both projection technologies and LED technologies over the years that will pass through this standard, so that we can be sure that what we are buying and installing in a theater is indeed what and will play the content that the studios around the world are sending us, and that it will be exactly as the creator intended. In that, however, HDR and SDR are not compatible with each other. They are 2 different standards. The same projector will be able to play both of those, but if you want HDR, you need a separate distribution. But I'm curious, as a digital post-production facility, how hard is it to do these multiple deliveries? We know that Indian movies have a short release timeline. How hard has it been?
So that's the big challenge we are facing. Every post facility is facing today in the market. The problem is because the approvals will go until last minute. And one way we are happy that we are delivering multiple formats. Of course, we get some business there. But delivering them on time to the theaters is a nightmare, you know. Everyone, all the partners involved in the deliverables, from post facility to the theatrical, like Cube, everyone, Scrabble, everyone, they have to work day and night. The challenge, see now, most of the films, big films you see, all pan-Indian films, like 5 languages, 6 languages, and we see 9 languages also going forward in the future. And each language should have multiple formats, like you have 5.1 and subtitles, at most subtitles, and this is standard DCPs, which is like 48 nits DCP. And some exhibitors, they ask for Dolby Cinema DCP and HDR 300 nit DCP. And imagine each version we need to do 4 versions. 4 versions into 5 formats or 4 formats. Each language, 16 DCPs, we have to do it. But are we getting enough time before release? No, we get maximum 2 days or 1 day. So that's the reason whatever we work, all the technicians, we work so hard to deliver the quality to the theater. But are we delivering the best quality to the theater today? No. Finally, ultimately, we are delivering standard DCP with 5.1 DCP, 5.1 audio. But are we delivering Atmos DCP? No. What my request from the stage, the filmmakers here, they have to log the film well ahead. And they have to log the picture and sound a week ago so that the best quality will be delivered to the theater. Otherwise, you will not see even proper 2K in theater. That's what is happening at the moment. This is practical, Sandil.
That's the unfortunate reality of our world. Everything is crushed timelines and
But I want to mention only few people, maybe I can say 5% of the filmmakers, they are making sure that they lock the film week before the release. Not everyone, just 5%, but this 5% has to be increased. That's what I wish for it.
but of course,
Then these formats will work for the audience.
but we also have to remember that these films are going to many countries around the world. Each country has certification. I think pretty much the only country that doesn't need a certification is the US. Every other country has a certification requirement, I think. And each of those might have some changes or a certification card to be added to the movie. They have certain subtitling requirements. For example, you'll have an Arabic subtitling requirement in most of the Gulf countries. You'll have a requirement for Chinese or English subtitling in Southeast Asian countries. So each of these versions is still subdivided into more versions for each territory, which is why it's a real challenge to justify the cost and the time required to deliver it. Even more reason why filmmakers need.
And Senthil, I think you guys are also one of the reasons. You brought Cube Wire. So Cube Wire is like, even for producers, okay, send the file within a few minutes to any center, but it's not all the locations equipped. I think you guys need to increase your Cube Wire locations across the world so that we can deliver the DCP within no time, 2-3 hours to the theater.
Yeah.
Only that will help.
Yeah, we originally designed the system thinking that this 1 week delivery was something that we would do, but now it's down sometimes to 2 days.
1 day, going forward 1 hour.
So I had another question for Ken. Now, is it just a question of can I throw a lot more light? Can I just take the existing Christie projector that I have or an existing Barco projector that I have and add something like VDR to it, and instead of my 50,000 lumen laser, can I put a 100,000 lumen laser and get HDR on my screen?
Well, I hope that answered your question, right? So, as I mentioned earlier, for the VDR technology that coming out is compatible to the Christie rail laser projectors with the Cine Live Plus electronics. If you already acquire those equipment, so for the VDR technology, it's just a software upgrade. So there's no additional hardware that you require. But if you have an older generation of a projector, yeah, that VDR technology is not applicable because it requires a lot of processing power because we are basically scanning frame by frame to look at the brightest pixel of the frame. Yep.
But I have my 50,000 lumen laser and I'm lighting up my screen at 48 nits today. Can I increase my laser to like 100,000 and how do I get 300 nits on the screen on a larger screen? Would that be possible or is there some limitation on what I can do?
I'm not very getting the questions.
Okay, so can I just add more laser light and make my Cine Life Plus projector into a HDR projector?
Well,
because I've got to hit that 300 nits in order to be standards compliant HDR.
Yeah, at this moment, I'm not in a technical position to answer those questions. So, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're talking about, say, for example, Christie laser project is there right now, 4310, if I'm not wrong. That one we are using for standard
Dynamic range.
standard DCP. Okay?
I'm wondering whether I can just
No, you
upgrade
cannot
my
do that.
laser alone and make it
I
bright
think
up.
there is an option called Color Plus in Christie. If you upgrade that, I think it is possible to go for HDR grading. I think that is in the future. That's what they told me last year.
Right, but my laser is only enough to light up my screen at 48 nits. So my real question is, how do I get to 300 on that screen?
The current laser projector what we have, it won't give 300 nits. Even you pump up the laser maximum to the maximum level. I think the chip design doesn't support, it seems.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
That is important.
So-
Whereas we use Christie laser in Dolby Cinema, that will support up to 130 nits. Not more than that, not beyond that.
okay. So the chip has limitations of how much light
Yeah,
it can
correct.
accept.
Yeah.
Then how then does Baco push it to 300 nits, Christoph?
Yeah, it's different because we are challenging with the current technologies, and that's why still HDR is not present like on the commercial iPhones or the streaming video, because making the HDR on the big screen, not with direct view like we have a television or LED wall, is very, very difficult from technical point. The limitations, for instance, are the lasers, because you can only dim the laser to 30%. So you cannot have this wide range of the contrast to achieve with one projector. Our construction is completely different. It is using the light which is just steering to the places where the very bright spot happens, or the brightest part of the image. And this is not just a very simple software, it's a very dedicated, very heavy hardware with kind of AI intelligent software inside, which is analyzing all the image and putting the light on the certain areas of the image. And this is the only today possibility with one projector to get the 300 nits at one time and 0.50 millinits at the very same moment for the black levels. So this is quite unique, but this is achievable. So one frame, you can have 300 nits and 0.05, so 5 millinits, very dark image at the very same moment. I was asked several times, what is the difference, really the difference between the SDR and HDR? Maybe tomorrow there will be also opportunity to show it, but imagine the pictures or with the very, very bright headlights of the car. You can imagine fireplace, and then you can see the difference. But I'm going to the different direction. No, sorry.
So Rajiv, you you saw the difference between SDR and HDR, and you said that it was quite eye-opening. What did you feel that there was a substantial difference from the 108 nits of Dolby Vision to the 300 nits of Baco HDR?
See, since we were watching it on an LED screen, I don't think it's a genuine understanding of what it is. And the scene we were seeing was from Pushpa, which is a, sort of half stop under, darker kind of an ghetto look. But I think you will be able to see it better when you have a very bright, sunny kind of image, like climbing Mount Everest or something, where there's a lot of snow and there's sky and there's a burning sun. So the problem in projection has been its ability to deliver extreme bright lights, like lights flaring, as he was talking about a car coming in. And that same screen to provide absolute black. Because whatever you did, the reflected light, ambient light in the theater would reflect off the thing. So this ability to give you the bottom and the top is what makes HDR so desirable. That I couldn't understand in the comparative projection, but I do think things are looking. What I noticed in the projection was the metal and the gleam in the jewelry was much better. The shine in metal, and shine in metal is a high frequency response. It's like what we can see in the hair, what we can see in diamonds, what we can see in the hint of the pearl. Those things sort of tell you what is happening to the highlight and is the highlight burning out. And I think not letting the highlight burn out to me is very exciting.
Yeah, and our cameras, as you pointed out in the beginning, have been capturing this information for many years to come.
16 stops is most cameras are delivering, but projection is only delivering around 5, 6, 8 stops. But now as you are expanding more and more from SDR to HDR, you'll see more depiction of that data.
So, CV, what would be the ideal workflow that you think will work to speed up our whole process and make it easier for the creatives to lock exactly what they want to see on the big screen?
Since we have multiple formats for theaters today, what we recommend is we have designed workflow which start in HDR pipeline. Basically, ACS workflow is highly recommended, where you start grading on a normal standard DCI and take that timeline into HDR, where you still need to spend some time, not like starting from the scratch, but you still need to spend like a day or two and review that in HDR 1000 nits. And from there, you can derive into 300 nits and 108 nits quickly. But however, you need to spend like maybe a day or less than a day sometimes. Once you have the prime delivery is standard DCPs, because almost 95% of screens in the world are still with standard DCP. The rest of the 5%, now they are picking up slowly, like Dolby Cinema, Barco, HDR. Once you finish that DCP, then go for HDR 1000 nits, which will be useful for Dolby Vision. Then you can deliver 300 nits Barco HDR and Dolby Cinema as well. So designing your pipeline workflow in ACS is highly recommended in post.
I think I think, Tidal, Tidal, the audio streaming platform, which was the Norwegian platform, which was giving you full uncompressed audio coming, was seen as a revolution. But if you still see, the market is dominated by Spotify and Apple Music and things like that. So just because you have a higher delivery mechanism, it does not necessarily mean that everybody is going to accept that. So I think SMPTE should find a way in which you deliver the highest quality signal and then you find an algorithm to bring out the various things based on the client's requirements. So there's one signal going out, standardized signal, and that standardized signal should have codes in it which the system which is installed can automatically detect and take a signal out.
Take into multiple formats.
Because otherwise, that's exactly what you do with subtitles. You're giving innumerable subtitles and saying that somebody chooses it. So the same thing, I think, would be relevant, that you give the highest signal out and the system then chooses what it requires and not have multiple files and multiple broadcasts and multiple confusions that are going in. Yes. Otherwise, the audience can feel cheated. They went to see an HDR projection, but for some technical reason, somebody chose an SDR.
So for OTT content, there is a format called IMF, right? So we deliver in IMF as an archival format. From there, they derive whatever they want. So what you are suggesting here for theaters, because we should be able to deliver one file, a DCP, From there, the projectors has to take however they wanted.
And the global standards organization, which SMPTE is, should come into that space. Because you see, if you look at cinema, at the peak of communism, when Soviet Union and America were competing, and post-war and during the war, the 35 camera film shot in Warsaw or in Moscow could still play in Latin America or in America. Because the 35 film was running everywhere and the projector was everywhere the same. Today, we are not able to agree on anything, and we have got 8 different formats and 6 different formats of projection, and sound 3 different formats. So it's very confusing, which I think the Global Standards Organization has to find one single standard for transmission, and exhibition can be in multiple things with a coding.
That's a very good thought, sir. I think definitely SMPTE is going to work on that, and we'll have a very easy solution if that really happens.
On behalf of SMPTE, I have to say that the DCI standard was aimed exactly on this. Yes, it was done by DCI first, but almost every aspect of the DCP has a SMPTE standard that was toiled upon by hundreds of engineers and voted upon and finally adopted, and it's also something that's been submitted to ISO for becoming a more formal worldwide standard. And this will survive the ages because it's also an open standard. If 10,000 years from now somebody finds a DCP, as long as they have the KDM, they can still decode it. I think we're nearing the end of the session's time, but I wanted to ask Rajiv a question. As a director, as a cinematographer, would you want to see your product on HDR more than you want to see it on SDR? Do you really, would you crave to see it on HDR?
It depends on the type of content. If you are making an emotional content, I don't think they may make such a big difference. But if you are making something which is competing with, I feel lot of contemporary big budget film is competing with the gaming industry in terms of generating that kind of excitement that gaming is giving. So you are seeing the pre-visualization using gaming engines and a lot of the action sequences having that. So if you are in that kind of high octane cinema, which is comic book driven, then I think you need to deliver cutting edge thing. And the innovation continuously keeps coming. So what you saw with Avatar was a tech merging itself with content as well as an emotion, and it becoming a global phenomenon. So I think any big screen entertainment film should go for HDR.
That's great to hear. Do we have time for questions? One or two questions we might have time for. Are there any questions from the audience?
Everybody has understood everything.
Everybody has understood everything. It's clearly the case.
Dev Mantram.
So, thank you to the panelists. I hope Rajiv's last thoughts will come true and we'll see HDR in every film. It certainly seems to be the case. Dolby Vision has been present in a lot of films, and Barco HDR is also being adopted quite quickly, as you can see from the slate that they've announced. And I hope soon it will become more affordable for all of us, LEDs and Barco HDR and Dolby Vision and VDR, which is a pretty attractive technology as well. And we'll have more and more of our screens adopt it, and therefore audiences will love it even more.
I request our speakers to please remain with us on stage just a little longer. We would like to take this moment to thank our brilliant panel for that deep dive into the new frontier of cinema visuals. Can we please give them a huge round of applause? On behalf of the Big Cine Expo, may I please invite on stage Raghav to take this moment to present a token of our appreciation to all our panelists on stage, thanking them for their time, their presence, and for sharing their valuable thoughts on such a hot and raging topic at this time. This discussion around HDR, VDR, and direct view LED really highlighted how technology isn't just enhancing the big screen, but it's redefining it. From mastering workflows to the business of premium experiences, the sessions has given us a deep glimpse into the future of what audiences will soon take for granted as the new normal in movie going. Truly wonderful this session has been. And once again, we're very grateful to our speakers for taking our time to be here with us and to share their pearls of wisdom on this topic. May I please request our panelists to kindly come together, to come forward for a group photo opportunity. It would be wonderful if you can bring your mementos along, please, and hold them for our cameras. It is a moment of pride for us at the Big Cine Expo to have you here. And that is what this photograph will have to say. When we look back to this moment, we're truly grateful, gentlemen, for your time and presence today.